Made it through the holidays. Back in action here on the all-new Sports Cage Monday for Kellen Solar. It's Barney Shynkaruk with Chris Harris on Monday. Colson and the Sheriff Allen in the house, and we got 3 hours of fun with you. Harry, I don't know about you. Did some traveling over the holidays. I was obviously up north, back home in Saskatoon for a long stretch. There was a hockey tournament involved and yada, yada. First time that I can remember ever, flu bug through the whole family. And I'm not just talking my 3 humans that I'm in charge or responsible for. Like, pretty much the whole Shynkaruk family was down, flu bug. And my only thing was, do not get sick Christmas Eve, because I wanted the Chinese food on Christmas Eve. No, but it was a nasty one. Getting through it. Mrs. S just getting over it as we speak. But we made it through the holidays. And you know what? When I was putting the show together and I texted you and I said, hey, you want to hop on? It's probably not going to be a lot to talk about. Maybe we'll do some World Juniors. We'll do some. And now I'm looking at things and I'm looking at updates and I'm looking at what's going on. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to have Dave Thomas joining us in a bit just to kind of put a bow on, pun intended, about Jake Maier. And now that traded to the Riders, they're negotiating. What's the deal there? Can we just ink this thing? Is this a done deal? We'll talk to Dave about anything else maybe in Rider camp for all you out there that want the Riders and CFL news here on December 30th. World Juniors, but we got Dave King coming on, Harry. And I don't know if you've ever spoken to Dave King up in Waskesiu, around 77 years old. He's coached, you can name it when it comes to international hockey.
Yeah.
He's going to come on and talk to us in this hour. Curious to pick his brain about what's going on in the World Juniors. How much is he watching it? Spengler Cup today, Canada loses. They're out, unfortunately. 3 Saskatchewan boys on the team that they lost to. Team from Germany, Straubing Tigers. So yeah, Dave King will talk to us in hour 1. Hour 2, Eric Francis. Continue the hockey talk going there. We're going to have updates as we go along, like I said, from the Max or the Circle K tournament for all the new schoolers out there, the Pack Canadians and Moose Jaw Warriors in action. Hour 3, Darian Durant is going to stop by. We'll talk about the trade with Jake Maier, what he thinks about that, and then also NFL and college football with Darian. Before we get going here, update. We are done the second period of play. Pittsburgh now leading the Regina Pat Canadians 4-3 going into the third period of play at the Circle K Classic. It's always going to be the Max to me, and Circle K is not a sponsor, so I don't care. Moose Jaw Warriors, they are losing 2-1 early in the second to Airdrie. So both Saskatchewan teams got some work to do there. Obviously, you've been watching hockey. Let's go right at it here. Canada losing to Latvia. Where does that rank in World Junior, International, just hockey noodle scratchers for you?
Well, I don't even know how you begin to weigh it against something else. It's huge. It's the only thing that I can think of that I thought of was when Latvia came in. I can't even remember. It was mid 2000s when they came out of relegation and came back to the tournament, and they had played Canada, and Canada was a juggernaut, and Latvia barely got to the tournament. They had no money. They were sharing sticks. They were just there on a wing and a prayer. And I remember them talking about them watching the Canadian guys have temper tantrums and snap sticks. And the look on the Latvian guys' faces just like, they have sticks that they could just break? How far have they come from that scene in 15 years?
They're down 1-0. They're down 1-0 right now to Germany. This game is going to go down to the wire. the raw emotion on the faces and then the behind the scenes after they won that. And yeah, it's only a preliminary loss, but the perspective that I go with is if Canada, let's say, hey, soccer, right? Our men's soccer team went to, in the Olympics and upset Argentina, and maybe even years ago, because Canada soccer's come a long way. The only thing I remember that with the sharing of sticks and how they all had to do that. That's a really good point. The other international one that I kind of equated it to that I remember, but this one was even a bigger stage because it was in the medal round, was when Belarus beat Sweden.
Yeah, that would be, in terms of significance for a country, I think that would be the next closest thing that would come to mind as well.
That was 2002 Olympics. And everybody was shocked. And how, was it Tommy Salo? He kind of, if you're watching the stream, I'm demonstrating how he tried to catch the puck. Like it was a high rise ball if you're playing fastball and went over his head. But it was something else. And then Kazakhstan, if you're watching the stream, I don't even know if you watched this, Harry, what happened here. I looked at the TV and Kazakhstan's down 4-2. And they're down 4-2. So what is that? 3:24 left, shorthanded. They're on a 5-minute penalty kill. They score to make it 4-3. Okay, cute. Yeah, you know what? They made it interesting. They're still down a man for the remainder of the game. And then again, I think it's the same guy, gets another breakaway, and this goalie's 5-hole was open on Saturday morning. He scores, makes it 4-4. And then speaking of raw emotion, this is what it's all about. And I know it's
absolutely
it's junior hockey tournament, but this is something, again, put it in perspective. If this was Canada at a basketball or soccer or European handball championship, and then unfortunately Slovakia came down in overtime and won it. Yeah, but there's been some crazy things. Like I said, this Germany-Latvia game, who knows where it's going to go. Canada loses at the Spengler. I really like watching the Spengler, but it seemed like this year with the flu bug going through and everything, sleep was at a premium, and they're just weird times because it's 8 hours or whatever difference. Didn't get through, but JC Lapon from Regina, he is on Staubing, as is the Lear kid and
Nelson
Noge, Winnipeg prospect back in the day who played for the Blades as well. So they're on to the final, and it looks like they're going to play HC Davos. And I thought that's on the bucket list.
So I was looking up. It is, definitely is. So you could get tickets to the gold medal game, 270 Canadian for fourth row, center ice, lower bowl. Pretty good.
It's not bad at all. When we talk to Dave King, because he's coached at that thing more times than I've been to any international event. He talks about a place, if you ever go, you got to go eat, and you have to take a sled. Like a horse, and it's unbelievable. And then so I was watching that today, and I was thinking the ticket that I would want in that rink in Davos, the cathedral or whatever they call it, is the ones way at the top of the V. Where it looks like it's almost the Seattle NFL stadium underneath it's like a weird V at the top. But 270 Canadian. And it looks like such a party.
You've already paid to get to Switzerland. Get off your wallet and pay an extra $270 and go to that game
and
experience
seat.
The gold medal final. Yeah, I believe there's a huge portion of standing room tickets that they have in that rink too.
Now that would be something. Just sit there in diesel beers and hop up and down and do the chants and all that. I can't wait to get into the Canadian goal song with you as we go along in the next 3 hours. I'm curious to get Eric Francis's take on the Canadian goal song as well. Maybe even Dave Thomas. It is the all-new Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com if you want to watch the stream. And as always, we are on the home of sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Yeah, chime in whenever you want on that Capital Ford Lincoln text line, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can chime in there. Nathan from British Columbia says he loves the show, guys. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks for tuning in from BC. Hopefully you're somewhere in BC where you can golf. Because those are the people I'm always jealous about in is it the lower mainland? Or would that just be around the Vancouver area? Like Sean will send me a message from Pitt Meadows and he's golfing. And I'm like, yeah, great. I'm sick of the flu bug in Saskatoon where they don't plow their streets and it's minus 25. People are driving around right now or getting things done, and because Colson, you had the flu bug go through or around too.
Yeah, the wife is still getting over it.
Yeah,
not as bad as you guys, apparently.
It started with my daughter, and she got through it the quickest. But wow, did I have cleaning up to do at 2:30 in the morning? Then it went to the son, and then it went the other parts of the family that were in there. Then me, and then. If she's listening, my wife is she's a strong, independent woman. And she has been around kids her whole life teaching. We'll bring Dave Thomas here in a bit because I think his wife's a nurse. And nurses and teachers, they seem to have immunity to a lot of different bugs. My wife said, I don't get sick. I just don't get sick. So everyone else is getting sick. And we're sharing Chex Mix and we're sharing everything, and I'm like, how do you think you're not going to get sick? Like, it is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Well, yesterday it happened, and hey, it's funny, but it's not. And my daughter, she's got me in her. She just wants to chirp right away. Mom is sick, and Gabby just wants to go in there and be like, see, told you were going to get, and I'm like, don't even bother doing it right now. You save that for about 48 hours down the road. But yeah, it's gone through. It must just be a provincial thing. And if you got the flu shot, maybe does that help? I don't know how that guessing game goes. But if you got the flu shot and you haven't got this flu, good on you. You picked right this year. Head to the Cino, maybe chuck a little on black. Let's bring him in on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Nothing wrong with Western Pizza, especially when there's all this hockey to watch and no one wants to cook unless it's leftovers or it should be long gone by this point. Call your local Western Pizza. Get yourself the Greek favorites you love. Order pizza. Dave, flu bug, anything in your neck of the woods?
Fingers crossed we were able to escape the holiday season without the traditional festive flu. I'll let you know that, because usually we get it, but not this year.
Yeah, well, this is the first time I've ever had it over the holidays. I was like, hey, if it's a thing that people usually get, I sympathize definitely. Okay, so the Jake Mayer thing, and I saw this come down, and I'm like, we talked about it. It was a strong possibility. That would be a great fit, Jake Mayer, and people were chiming in on the Western Pizza guest, or on the Capital Ford Lincoln text line. People are chiming in on YouTube saying you guys are crazy, on socials. No, it makes sense, but unwrap this for us. So now they're just basically, they have the rights to negotiate with them. Probably, are they doing it right now? Would it be close to being inked? Like, is there any chance that this guy says, no, I'm not signing here?
I would highly think that's unlikely that he doesn't sign, but it's the timing of it all, right? Because this happened right before Christmas, and literally the day that it came out was the day that Jake Mayer found out that he had been dealt to the Saskatchewan Roughriders by the Calgary Stampeders. So he didn't have a lot of time to process, right? Because there's a lot to go through, to think about, because he had it obviously in his mind since the final game of the regular season that there's a pretty strong likelihood I'm not coming back to Calgary. And then they go ahead and they get Vernon Adams Jr. Yeah, it's probably looking like I am not going to be in Calgary next year. So they had to give it some time to marinate, to let it sink in, and then it's over the holidays, right? So you don't want to be digging up a deal, so on and so forth, considering all your options, right? He's got a family he's got to talk to. There's a lot of decisions, a lot of things that have to happen. But what does happen is that once the holiday break is over, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and Jeremy O'Day mentioned it last week, is that He's going to sit down with Jake. They're going to talk about everything, go through everything. Mark Mueller is a huge fan of Jake Maier, which is a huge bonus for the Rough Riders. And then the Riders have until February the 2nd. That's when that CFL negotiating window officially opens. And they've got the opportunity to talk to him one-on-one up into that point until they either sign him or he decides that he's going to test out free agency because, again, maybe he feels there's a better fit out there for him. I don't know. But to me, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I think, are going to go ahead and make it very attractive for him to join the team next year.
Yeah. That's the other thing I was thinking. It's okay if you're Jake right now and you're doing whatever Jake does on December 30th or close to it, what would be the better option? Because Vernon Adams was coming in, and okay, so the writing's on the wall there. Writing's kind of on the wall in Saskatchewan too, with who the number one is. But we've also talked about it ad nauseum for the last 4 months. It's a 2-quarterback league. Like, if you don't have 2 guys that can sling and play, you're in trouble. Is there another option out there, Dave, that you think of that maybe is entertaining?
Well, that's the big one right now. What is entertaining and what is Jake Maier willing to do, right? Is he willing to bide his time? And I call this kind of the Anthony Calvillo effect. Remember when Anthony moved into Montreal and he played behind Tracy Ham for a couple of seasons? He went ahead and he really established himself and got himself locked in mentally. He found out what it took to be an athlete, to be a quarterback, to be a leader on a team. Now, it's not saying or suggesting that he doesn't have any of those qualities. I believe he does. But this is an opportunity where there's no pressure on him to come in. He's coming in. He can go ahead. He can learn. He can pick Trevor Harris's brain. He can play behind him as much as he wants. And again, there's an opportunity that that not every quarterback is going to start all 18 games in the CFL. The only quarterback the last 2 years that has been able to do that, or would have had he not been benched, was Jake Maier. So if I'm Jake, I look at this opportunity as a chance to go ahead and redefine and refine my game under the tutelage of Mark Mueller, which is what I've had my most success as a pro in Canada. So that's the option that I think I'm looking at if I'm Jake Maier. If I look around the rest of the CFL, well, what's out there? Well, Calgary, he's not going back to Calgary. That's done. Edmonton has got Cody Fajardo on a reworked deal as well as Trey Ford established. They're not going to look away from Nathan Rourke in BC. Winnipeg, happy to have Zach Caleros right now. It looks like Toronto's happy with their quarterbacking situation with Chad Kelly and may or may not include, of course, Nick Arbuckle, who just happened to win the Cup. Ottawa's set, and the only other one is Montreal. And Montreal, they're going to give Davis Alexander every opportunity to grow, develop, and to become a substantial starting quarterback in the league with a new 3-year contract. So if I'm Jake, where am I looking? And to me, it would seem that the Saskatchewan Roughriders are the best fit. But again, that's Dave Thomas, who's thrown all but 0 professional passes in his career.
Has a sweet high school jacket, though, from Weyburn.
Yeah, true.
So we sat, I think it was the 3 of us who had this conversation. It was either when Adams went to Calgary or somewhere around there, where we talked about when you're looking for your second string quarterback, like Barn said, it's a 2-quarterback system, but you also want to avoid precipitating a quarterback controversy at some point in your year. You want a guy who is capable, but not who is going to push for the starting job. Now, is Jake Maier that guy who, yes, is he going to be content to come in and know that no matter how poorly, essentially, Trevor Harris plays, he's not going to overtake that starting spot. So that's another consideration. Like, is this a guy who wants to still be a number one? I mean, you got to read the room, but I don't know if he fits that criteria or not.
Well, the only question that I would have is where would he have an opportunity to be a number one? And the one thing that we saw firsthand last year with the Saskatchewan Roughriders was you earned your spot, right? And the one thing that Coach Mace continually talked about, and that was now entrenched in this dressing room and in the philosophy that he has built in the culture, is the fact that the standard is the standard. And if you play to the standard, you get to play. So last year in training camp, right, how many people thought that Mason Fine was going to emerge as the number 2 quarterback? And end of the day, Shea Patterson was head and shoulders above everybody else in camp, and he proved it day in and day out. Now, I'm not writing Shea Patterson out of the equation. Again, it's going to be an interesting dynamic in that quarterback room should he come back. But saying all of that, who's to say that Jake Mayer's signing as a number 2? Maybe he comes in and wins the job outright. Who knows? But I wouldn't put it past the Rough Riders to say, hey, let's see what you can do. Let's face it, we all can expect Trevor Harris to be starting game number 1 for the Rough Riders next season. But I'm just saying there's a possibility out there. So let's see what you can do, kid.
How big of a factor, too, at play here is the Mark Mueller card?
Gigantic. Big one.
Yeah.
Huge. If you've got an ace up your sleeve, that's it right there. Mark Mueller and Jake Mayer, from what I've heard, and I don't dispute it, and I haven't heard anything to the contrary, have a fantastic relationship. And again, Jake Mayer has been his most successful with Mark Mueller at his side. So I think you reunite the two of them here. I think that's just a perfect match between the two of them. And then it's on them to recreate it, right? Recreate what you showed in Calgary that upset Bo Levi Mitchell. The Stamps went ahead and said, okay, Bo, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to go this way, in large part to the tutelage of Mark Mueller. So we'll see whether or not that could be recreated in Saskatchewan.
Like, we don't know, but where does this leave Shea Patterson?
We don't know. Pending free agent, right? We don't know.
Yeah, and I would like to know what he's thinking at this point at stage of the game. With all, still a number of free agent quarterbacks with CFL experience on there, is the sample size big enough for a team to say, we want that guy, or for a team to say, thanks, but no thanks? I don't know. It's tough. He's still young. And that's the other thing with Mayer, too, is, Trevor Harris ain't going to play forever. He's still in great shape. Like, when he gets the time in the pocket, I don't know, and people are going to start chiming in here and yelling at me. I don't know who slings it better. Like, he was like a CFL version of Tom Brady when he was getting rid of the ball quick and just picking apart defenses. But he's got let's say he's got 2 more years, maybe. That's perfect for Mayer if he buys in. If they're it sounds like, with Mueller being tight with them, being up front, Coach Mace being as up front as from what I know of him, it seems like, there's nothing hidden. It's going to be, all right, this is the plan. Eventually you're going to play. And you're probably going to play before that because it's just how the league is. But are you cool with this script or this layout for the next 2 years? And what you're saying, Dave, kind of sounds like it'd be a good fit for the guy.
I think it would. Why wouldn't you go back to where you've had some success, have an opportunity? And again, that, okay, my opportunity isn't now, but it could be the next snap, right? That's the same as it is for every quarterback in the Canadian Football League. And in Jake Mayer's circumstance, I would suggest that, again, if he's willing to go ahead and be mentored into the next guy, right? And that's a conversation that I'm sure that will be held right up front with him, from Jeremy O'Day to Coach Corey Mace to Mark Mueller. Here's what we anticipate and are looking and thinking. What do you think? And if that fits, then he signs on the dotted line.
Plus, if he doesn't have anybody else knocking on his door, is he really in a position to be like, you know what, that 2-year timeline doesn't really work for me. I'm going to explore other options. Like, dude, you don't have any other options. This is it.
Well, Nick Arbuckle was a week and a half away from going and coaching high school football south of the border before the Toronto Argonauts came calling because his green card was expiring here, or work visa, pardon me, in Canada was expiring, and he was going to head out. So to me, you're right. Absolutely. It's what are you willing to do? It's a life decision, right? Like, do you want to keep pushing and pursuing this goal and this dream, or are you content with where it's at, right? And again, life decisions.
I love it. I think that's our first green card comment on the all new Sports Cage. Okay, I gotta ask you. Let's go back to this CFL report card that was released on every team, and now as more infos come out since the last time that we talked. What was the one on there? 3 Down Nation had a bunch of pieces. What was the one thing on there that really made you chuckle?
Chuckle. I think some of the reactions, just the reactions to the grades that were coming out, right? Because like they were out there from meals to the way that the team travels, and to me, I was like, really, like what? And so just the reactions that were out there to them, like Ed Hervey going off in it, this is embarrassing. Well, okay, it was embarrassing, but when you're not winning, things aren't good, right? Everything is terrible when you're losing.
Okay, so you travel with the team and you get to go on an airplane with the team. It's not like you guys use the same, it's not like the Larange Ice Wolves have their bus. Like you guys just have a charter from WestJet or wherever, and it's could be a different bird every time. So the one that made me laugh was, I think it was Winnipeg. Somebody on Winnipeg complained about the team plane. And it's ratty, and it's basically a hunk of junk, and there's not a lot of leg room. And it's like, hey, bud, that's not owned by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Well, you have
What you
visions
just
all of a
described
sudden.
was a plane.
Well, you got the visions from Major League. Remember the Cleveland, how they downgraded to that terrible plane before the bus? So, like, no, you know, it's. If you've traveled commercial, you basically have traveled on one of the planes that the CFL employs in their partnership with WestJet. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no. And then the food thing, like Harry, you run a pretty good diet. Me, not so much. Like wouldn't the food thing, a lot of that would be with the player.
Yeah, do you think they'd have some input into what they're putting in? I was just like, whatever there is. We're finely tuned machines, but I guess it's just ho-hos and Pepsi today.
Well, from what I can tell you is I can draw a little bit of similarity to the Saskatchewan Rush of the National Lacrosse League. I followed them for 3 seasons. And again, there is a lot of preparation when it goes to making sure that there's nutrition for when the players come into the dressing room. Like, are there bananas, are there fruit, are there whatever else out? Like, I'm assuming that's what we're talking about here. Like, again, if you're worried about eating corn dogs on Tuesdays all the time, I don't think that is exactly what happens. But to me, okay, so we like a little bit of a better spread instead of having gummy worms. Okay, fine. We can try to change that for you.
Yeah, it's like baseball dugouts and locker rooms, right? You got all sorts of candy and stuff in there, and yeah, it was really interesting. I'd like to know more about it, delve into it. I never will get the chance, but it was cool. Okay, Dave, I wanted to bring you on and unwrap what you thought about the mayor thing. I think everybody is of the same mindset that, yeah, he will end up signing here. Like you both talked about, like, where's the other? This is the best option for him. Mark Mueller is his buddy.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and like I said, this is a downtime in football, but it's an extremely busy time, right? With all the bowl games that are going on south of the borders, the football operations departments around the CFL are absolutely swamped, right? They're getting their last look in some instances at some guys that they have a lot of interest in, whether it's bringing them to camp, filling holes, so on and so forth. So I'm not saying that this isn't priority one. I'm just saying the fact that the timing kind of fell at a bad time for everyone involved, right? Because you want to give the guy a downtime with his family, so on and so forth over the holidays, and then you get to it. So I think we're going to find out sooner rather than later. Probably, I was going to guess next week, but I've been so wrong on so many things when it comes to timing. Let's wait on that.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes as a high performance hockey coach, kind of.
I've only got 75% of the training, man. I've got level 1 and level 2, but 75%, that's it.
What are you yelling at the screen about when it comes to Team Canada at the World Juniors?
My wife had to come and check on my kids because she thought I was upset at them, and it was the TV. Like, I've never been this upset before at the World Juniors. Like, I love the tournament year in and year out. I've never missed it. But in the Latvia game, I couldn't believe our one forward was disengaging when we had the puck in the offensive zone, and he's out taking a skate between the red and blue line. Like, if I'm Latvia, hey, that's one less shot. I got to worry about blocking. Things are good. And then last night, I just couldn't believe it. I was To me, if you're having problems scoring, you simplify things, don't you? And let's face it, there is so much talent on this Canadian roster. Like, I've had an opportunity to see some of those kids, like from novice, Berkeley Catton in Saskatoon, for example, the guy who's just buzzing everywhere right now. It's a disjointed game offensively, because in the second and third period last night, there wasn't a single rebound converted by the Canadians. They didn't have a rebound chance. And to me, if you're having problems scoring, what we call it, and again, this is very primitive hockey, is we called it the ground and pound. We shoot it at the goalie's skates and we send everybody and their dog to the net, and you keep whacking away at the puck until it either goes in, you get knocked on your butt, or the whistle sounds, in no particular order.
Yeah, I don't. For me and Harry, you and I can get into this more, but there's a lot of things that's interesting. I don't think it's doomsday, like a lot of people on social media and everywhere. The world's caving in, but we win tomorrow, and then keep winning there, and things will change. But yeah, losing to Latvia, I'm glad I got to see it. I told my kids, they were watching with me. I was like, you guys just watch history. Right? Like, Latvia just beat Canada. Kind of a nothing game. Maybe a little bit embarrassing, but that was historic. Look at those kids. Imagine being from Latvia.
Yeah. Well, here's the classic one. And again, going back to my provincial championship that I won last year in under 18B, one thing that we did was that the kids would like to get individual, right? So they wouldn't play as a team. And so at one point as a coaching staff, we literally said, okay, fine. You guys want to do it your way? You go do it your way. And so we let them go for an entire 60-minute game. It was a terrible game. We got our butts whooped, but it was right there, message sent. Okay, guys, you can do it your way or you can do it our way. I guarantee you we're going to have more success. Well, I was the coach, so I couldn't guarantee. But we thought we would have more success if we played systems and did something other than pond hockey and played a team-style game, which led us to a little bit more success. And I wonder if that maybe was what happened with Dave Cameron and Mike Johnson of the team, right? Oh, yeah, you guys want to do it your way? You guys want to keep doing the dangling in between the legs and off the crossbar and all that stuff? Do it. Let's see what happens. You just lost to Latvia, gentlemen. And so we'll see what happens.
14:49 left in the second period of play. Latvia is down to Germany 1-0. So they need to find a goal or the Kavorka. Dave, thanks so much for stopping by. And let's catch up possibly later in the week.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good one.
Voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Dave Thomas, joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Time for a quick break. Update 2, Regina Pat Canadians now down 6-3 in the third period. 7 minutes, 49 seconds left to Pittsburgh at the Circle K Classic, also known as the Max Tournament. It's the all-new SportsCage, streaming at sportscage.com. Yeah, the Regina Pat Canadians are going to need to find some goals in a hurry here. They're down 6-3, 6:28 left at the Circle K to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Moose Jaw is down 5-2 after 2 periods. So both teams need a spark of some sort. World Juniors. Okay, so your memories, Harry, is it 91 when it was in Saskatoon? Like I remember I went to probably at least half of the games, including the gold medal winning game. When it comes to World Juniors, what's the memories that stand out for you?
So the first one would be 86. Piastani, the punch out in Piastani where they turned out the lights. Just it's the aftermath and the video that came out of that, and just the absolute sheer chaos. There's a great book about it written by Gare Joyce, all about it. Everett Sanapass, who was kind of the tough guy on Canada. It all kind of started around him, but some great NHLers that were on that team, like Theo Fleury and Shanahan, Jimmy Waite, Pierre Turgeon. Like a great, just that's the first one that I really, obviously I was 10. I don't remember watching it live or anything, but I remember, like, that's kind of my first real memory of this World Junior thing is that one, them turning out the lights.
I remember watching that live. It was like on CBC. It wasn't like TSN wasn't part of it. And my father, and we had that small, it was color though. We were big time, small color TV with the turning knob. And then they shut the lights off. And he's trying to explain it to me. Again, I'm 10 years old. I'm kind of getting, okay, there's a brawl. It's a hockey brawl. And then he's like, it doesn't happen. And so his thing, you read this book. Now, my dad, rest in peace, he always thought that the Russians did it because they weren't going to medal anyway.
Right. That is the conspiracy theory behind it, is that Canada had to win by 5 to win the gold, because way back then it was just based on round robin standing, goals for against differential. And I think it was Finland was going to get the gold, if Finland or Sweden, I can't remember. So the theory is, Russian was, I think, in 6th, so they had no shot. And so the theory was they were going to suck Canada into doing something stupid. Now, whether they could have foreseen that the whole team was going to get disqualified is a very ambitious theory. But maybe, I guess, if you lose a couple guys, I mean, the tournament was over after that game anyway. So, I mean, it was 4-2. Was Canada going to get 4 more goals, 3 more goals? Who knows? So, I don't know. I wouldn't lend a lot of credence to that theory, but it's definitely out there.
And then what other ones? Is it 91?
91 for sure. Yeah, just that. Yeah, there's the names. Like you've got the Stephen Rice and Lindros and Chris Draper and Trevor Kidd and Felix Potvin and Pat Falloon and Scott Niedermayer and just like a who's who of NHLers.
Dale Craigwell.
Down the road.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Yes. Kent Manderville. They just the whole way that it shook down. They got outplayed so poorly they were outshot 17-3 in the third period, and somehow John Slaney had that puck go through traffic and find the back of the net, and they hung on to win. Like, it's just, and it being in Saskatoon too it's a no-brainer. That's definitely one of the biggest ones out there.
The one and Sharky, I think, will be in on Thursday, and he's talked about it before because he was working it down here in Regina for some outfit. I don't know if it was the paper or somewhere. He was covering it. And it was the Russia-Finland tie the night before in Regina. Like, no business, and they scored like super late. Anybody out there that remembers this, correct me if I'm wrong, because, again, I was in grade 8, and I was in Saskatoon, but I remember... and remember, like, there's no internet. There's like, I don't know, 17, 20 maybe channels that a person has, TSN being one. So you find out that the Soviets have tied Finland, and now there's a chance that Canada can win gold the next day. And the other thing is, it was so cold that week in Saskatoon, like the -30 with 40 wind chill. That's the other thing. But yeah, I didn't remember that they were that outshot in the third period. And the USA had a pretty good team. Like, Doug Wade, I think, led the tournament in scoring. And then, like, the thing that I'm watching with Germany's up 2-0 now in Latvia is people going berserk about Canada losing to Latvia, which, okay, I get it. It's passion, and we're a passionate country, especially when it comes to hockey, because we don't have a lot of other things to hang our hat on. Like, when you think, like, athletically, like, we had some Ben Johnson, yay, well, that didn't work. Donovan Bailey. This year at the Olympics was great again. Our soccer's coming up. Raptors won the NBA title once, which is kind of a Canadian thing. But the tournament is so good now, as far as there's parity. And it's what I always wanted. I hated when we would if you're watching the stream, pull our jerseys and jump into the glass when we scored our 8th goal on Norway. Well, come on. And you look at some of the scores from the past. It was, the one in 1982, West Germany scored 15 goals for and had 81 against. That's a minus 66 if you're keeping track at home. Like, that's not good for anybody. That's not good for anybody. And now we're at a point where kind of got to be on your toes, and they're blocking shots. Like even yesterday, the Germans.
Oh, unreal.
The Latvians. Like they got total buy-in to just try and do whatever it takes. Where in the past, it was, survival for them. And it was different hockey. That's the other thing. Everyone's like, Canada's got to go back to Dion Phaneuf and Jordan Tutu and all that. If you have a kid that is playing bantam or any kind of hockey, even peewee, like now you can't do any of that nowadays. Anything is considered a hit to the head.
No.
There's this kid that's playing bantam up in Saskatoon, and he will play in the Western Hockey League in the next 3 years. He's from the Ukraine. He's been here for 3 years. Lupindin's the last name. Hits like an absolute truck. Unbelievable player. Plays if you didn't know this kid was from the Ukraine, you'd be like, whoa, big tough Canadian. No, he's from Ukraine. He's good.
Yeah.
He hit one of our players in the tournament. An awesome hit. He got thrown out 5 minutes. So how are we going to go back to, let's go run a team out of the rink? The game's changed. Unfortunately.
It surely has. And the one thing that jumps out too, watching those two games, the Latvia game and the Germany game, and it's no more fitting anywhere other than sports. I mean, it parlays into life, but there is nothing more dangerous than somebody who has nothing to lose. And that's Latvia and Germany. They have nothing to lose. It's like, we're not even supposed to be here. If we could get relegated, we could finish last. So we'll go out there. We're going to block every shot we can. We're going to hit everything that we can. We're going to take every opportunity that comes at us, and we're going to try to win a game. And that's exactly what they did. Like, they're just, it's a different mindset. When you are that much of an underdog, it is a totally different mindset. They're not going in there thinking, we could win this game 6-1. They're thinking, we have to absolutely sell out to have a shot to win this hockey game. And that's super dangerous.
Absolutely. I went down the rabbit hole because I'm like, where do we stand on? There always used to be the Group B. Who's coming up from Group B and who's coming up? So I think they're calling it Division 1 now, and then there's a Group A in Division 1. So those are the teams that are coming up. Denmark's already won it. So Denmark is in next year, 2026. In that division, Austria's getting bumped down. Getting bumped down to Group B, where Japan's moving up. And you got Ukraine, Italy, Estonia, Poland, and South Korea going down. Then there's a Division 2. Group A in Division 2 of World Junior Hockey consists of Croatia, Lithuania, Great Britain, China, the Netherlands, and Romania. Oh, and then there's a Group B. This is all World Junior Hockey, folks. Group B, if you want to sprinkle, you got Spain, Serbia, Iceland, Iceland. I thought that was just Mighty Ducks. Apologize to everyone out there from Iceland. Did not. Australia, Belgium, and Israel. I knew Israel's got a team because there's a guy in Saskatoon that coaches over in Becker's brother. It's in the Arab Emirates. Okay. Huge on hockey. Then there's a Division 3. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Chinese Taipei, New Zealand, Bulgaria, Turkey, Mexico, Bosnia, Herzegovina. They're going down, though. And then Thailand, Kyrgyzstan, South Africa, and Luxembourg in the final. That's the Group B of Division 3. I had no idea it went that deep.
No, nor I. Not a clue.
I thought there was one underneath, maybe one under.
Yep.
And then I'm like, wait a minute. This thing keep going down and down. Chinese Taipei. They were awesome in fastball back in the day. Ukraine, still, yeah, like. So then I was going. You know that Japan has been in the top before? I didn't know that.
A few years ago, I think there was a big deal because they made it in.
Top pool. Poland, I remember, and they were always like, speaking of, they had the goalie like showing up and he was wearing a Tupperware article on his head with a mask screwed to it, and like bad, like that was the other thing too, that it was like, oh, this isn't good. Look at the goalie for this team that we're beating 9-1. There are kids right now playing ODR hockey in the province that have better gear than that goalie. Remember in the 80s and 90s?
Yeah. Oh,
it was awful.
I'm surprised, considering that Finland and Sweden have been such a staple, that Norway, they must not dedicate much resources to their hockey program that those other two countries do, because for the Nordics, they're always the ones out.
Skiing, huge.
Yeah.
I think I asked that question when we were over there. I'm like, why not Norway? But yeah. We got to take, the boys are telling us we got to take a break. Quick update as we go to break from the Circle K. Regina's made it close. There's under a minute left, 6-5 against Pittsburgh. We'll update you after the news. It is the all-new Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. Welcome back. All-new Sports Cage. Barney Shynkaruk and Chris Harris. Colson and Allen on this Monday. We're back in the saddle. There are crazy things going on at the Circle K /Max tournament in Calgary. The Regina Pat Canadians were down at one point. What was it? 4-2, 5-2, 6-3, 6-3,
6-3. Yeah.
A kid by the name of Maddox Schultz, who's a second-year Bantam player, tied the game with tied the game with 0.5 seconds left. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists for the Pat Canadians. They are in overtime, and we are trying to keep you updated. The site gave Pittsburgh the game, and it kind of clicked off, and then I'm like, it's not over. Josh Miller texted me and he's like, he just tied it, 0.5 seconds left. That is
crazy.
Wacko. Unreal. Moose Jaw's down 5-2 to Airdrie. Third period, about 14 and change left in that. Canadian mixed doubles curling, it's underway in Nova Scotia. All 3 Saskatchewan teams are on the ice in the opening draw. All Saskatchewan matchup. Brittany Tran and Rylan Kleider defeated Nancy Martin and Steve Laycock 6-3. Kirk Myers and Laura Walker scored 3 in an extra end to top Anne-Sophie Goyest and Robert Desjardins 8-5. They're back on the ice this afternoon. We'll try and get you an update. If not, Dave Thomas will have you updated in sports tomorrow morning here on 620 CKRM. SJHL tonight. Melville and Yorkton. It's called the Highway 10 Park Cup. They clash. It's the only game in the SJHL. And actually, I had to check on who's doing what in that series. Benny Walchuk, Melville is 3-0-1 against their cousins from the Garlic Belt in that clash this year. And they play a total of 8 games, so it could be wrapped up tonight if Melville wins. I have no idea why I know it'd be tough for you. Well, I didn't do the show live from Yorkton tonight. Watch this game, spend the night, hit the, what is it? Not Painted Hand. What's the casino in Yorkton called? Painted Hand? I think they don't have even live. They didn't have live tables the last time I was there, though. I was disappointed. Still, nonetheless, it's fun. Maybe hit the Loft or whatever it's called for the buffet in the morning. Yeah, a big game tonight in Yorkton. Highway 10 Park Cup. New Sports Cage, the only place that continually covers the SJHL for you. WHL tonight for Extreme Hockey. Tons of Boxing Day sales still on at Extreme Hockey. The Blades are in Prince Albert. Brandon's in Swift Current. Only 2 points separate those teams in the standings. Lethbridge is in Red Deer. and Calgary's in Medicine Hat. Are we going to him? We're waiting for Eric Francis to join us. Also still waiting for Dave King to join us in the program as well. Darian Durant coming up in hour 3. We'll talk more of the Ryder trade for Jake Maier. What Darian would think about that. Like he would know the insides. No, they're talking. They kind of got it inked.
Right.
They know. He's already picked out a place to live, or maybe he'll say, well, he might want to test the waters, but it's the CFL, and we know there's only so many positions and jobs. Like the only one that I could think but you're going to be in the same situation. Part of me thinks maybe Ottawa. But Arbuckle, then when Justin Dunk said that he's got a kind of a guaranteed coaching thing maybe with Toronto. Maybe. But yeah, Jake,
and maybe Montreal.
Maybe.
It depends on how long a leash they want to give Alexander.
Yeah, 2 young guys like that. And then the Mark Mueller trump card where it's like, no, comfortable, knows going to be up front. Hey, you're going to play because all quarterbacks play. Or 2 quarterbacks play in this league now. Just look at the data. And then when Trevor decides to hang him up, easy transition time into you.
Yep.
We're good? All right.
Time now for Inside the NHL with Eric Francis on the all-new SportsCage. Inside the NHL is brought to you by Southie Mainline, the Mainline Automotive Group's newest king of trucks. Southie Mainline, just 30 minutes north of Regina. Worth the drive every time. Guaranteed.
Joining us from his automobile is from Sportsnet, Eric Francis. I thought you said you were going to be joining us from the Circle K Championship.
I am, but I had to go out in the parking lot to get video going. I don't want to stand there like a jackass in the middle of the rink, talking my ear off when there's an overtime game that I wouldn't want to be watching right now with your Pats.
Why wouldn't you do it from that? Like that, if anything, if we give you, what's the word I'm looking for? If you got the okay to do it, it's during an overtime game with the Pat Canadians right now. It's not like you'd be cheesy airport guy on your walking around in the airport lounge loud. That guy's annoying. From a hockey game, an overtime game, we would have given you the okay to do it. Have you been watching that game?
I just caught about 10 minutes, but then I had to pop outside here to do this. And then my son's in there watching right now. He'll tell me what a great game I missed, but that's okay. You're right. I should have stayed in there, but you guys, I didn't want to do video. Anyway, long story short, I'm at the Circle K. It's always going to be the Max tournament. That's what I'll always call it because I'm old. And it's the best damn U18 tournament in the world. And, I got a ton of listeners. Anyone who played, good level hockey growing up there, would have been thrilled to come and partake in this tournament. Like all the greats in the NHL have all played in this tournament. And my son and I come every year, and it's just as good a hockey as you're going to watch. It's great.
Do we have an update splitter? Spoiler alert, anything? Regina Pat Canadians won in overtime.
Yes.
So wrap your head around this, Eric. Number 19 for the Regina Pat Canadians. We just did an interview with him and his father a couple of weeks ago here on the Sports Cage and the Monday Nooner podcast. Maddox Schultz, he is a second-year bantam. He should be playing against my son or with my son in the Bantam League. He exceptional status into the AAA League. He's leading the Saskatchewan AAA League in scoring. Fantastic.
Wow.
They're good paper. He scored the overtime winner, Harry. So you can chalk it up on the big board. 4 goals and 2 assists in this game against Pittsburgh. He's a bantam.
In a massive
You know what
comeback.
they call that?
Like,
They call that a coming out party.
Yeah.
There's a special room here at this tournament for the scouts, because everybody in the scouting world is here watching this, and you go out and do something like that at a tournament like this, that's big time. And just so people know, like, the round robin portion ended yesterday. This is the first round of the playoffs in this tournament. They go 16 teams deep into the playoffs, and it's the playdowns now. So that's a pretty important time for him to pull together something like that.
It is absolutely coming out party, as you said. Harry, when you go back to watching the Max tournament over the years, I had a chance to play in it. Got a suspension, didn't get to go. What a loser. What a real loser.
Oh, yeah, no.
I know. I don't want to bring it up. It kills me to this day. But what, was there a final? Is there a game that you remember that was just epic? Did I lose him?
Oh, I got you there.
Okay.
Sorry,
I think you got to put your seatbelt on too. It was beeping. I said, is there one game?
I had to turn the car on. It's cold here.
Is there one game that you remember from the Max tournament watching it? You said you go every year. That's kind of been epic that you always go back to?
Yeah. It's funny you asked that. Like, I covered this tournament for probably my first 15 years in Calgary. And I'll never forget Parise. Zach Parise was Shattuck St. Mary's. And by the way, every year they've ever come to the tournament, they've won every single time. They've never lost this tournament. Now, they come here with 8 or 9 18-year-olds, which is breaking the rules compared to all the other teams. But because they're such a big draw, and part of why it took so long to get here, getting a parking spot in this, the attendance here is off the charts. It's fantastic to see this city watch this. But anyway, going back to the final, they used to play it at the Dome, and it was Shattuck St. Mary's winning it for the second year in a row. Zach Parise got 6 points in the final game. His brother was the goalie for Shattuck St. Mary's. He never went anywhere. He went and played college, but he didn't, make it pro. But it was my belief at that time that Parise, I believe he played here, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years, but had the highest. He had something like 31 points, in 2 or 3 visits here. It was insane. And I'll just never forget that performance, because I think he had 3 or 4 goals in the final against a formidable opponent, and he was the star of the game, and obviously went on to a stellar NHL career. And his dad was the coach, JP Parise. The Parise was famous for the 72 Summit Series.
Yeah. Yes.
He was in that. So
what do they talk about that a lot there? Because I'm starting to get it in Saskatchewan, and there's a couple of reasons why that I'm hearing. The Saskatoon Blazers have now declined invitations to go twice. Is what I heard from one parent was because you're there so long now. It used to be when you were out, you got back on the bone shaker and back to Sasky. But now there's a B and a C and a D and a who cares cup. It's like going to a golf tournament and you lose out and then you're playing the loser bracket or whatever. It's no, I'm just going home. But and there's that, and that these academies have the older kids, like you said, the 18, almost 19-year-olds. And then you talk about Shattuck, but the other one that's the up-and-comer that I hear, there's a female girl from Saskatchewan, Striker Zablocki, who is unbelievable, one of the best in her age and probably the world. She's at this Bishop Kearney in New York.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're at the Max. So I'm wondering what happens. Do you hear about them maybe limiting these teams to ages, or they probably can't do that?
It's been an ongoing debate. I do believe in past years they've said to Shattuck, we'd love to keep having you every year. You're a big draw. This is a big deal for you guys. It's a big deal for us. But you can't bring all your 18-year-olds. And then they go, their response, I was told years ago, was, well, then we won't come. So
Yeah.
you want the big boys in town. This whole tournament was built on the backs of the local teams, giving them a chance to play against the best U18 players in the world. And so, if you're going to bring in the best like Shattuck, it's a great experience for the Calgary kids. Now, it's a very interesting point. So your stuff when it comes to this tournament. They changed the format this year because after the last couple of years, you were in a division of 4 for the round robin, and based on how you placed in that round robin, you were either in the A division, B, C, or D. So basically, if you lost one game, you couldn't possibly win the tournament. You could win the B or C or D final, but that's not why anybody comes here and pays $50,000 to do that. So the cost is a big deal. And what I was told was these teams basically said, we're not spending $50,000 to come here and lose one game and we're out for the team. So they changed the format this year. So now top 16 teams in the round robin all get into the playoffs and they're seeded 1 through 16 and they play down like that, which is a way better way to do it. And so good you asked about that because people weren't happy with it. So some teams were turning Max aside or the Circle K aside in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I'd noticed the 16, the bracket now, and I'm like, okay, that's new, that's different. So that's what they're doing it. Okay, Harry, I sent this to you yesterday. Aaron Tatu, former junior and Husky goalie, U of S Husky goalie, sent this. So that COVID year, Eric, get this roster that the Saskatoon Contacts had. So if COVID wasn't a thing, someone didn't need a bat or whatever happened, and there would have been a Max tournament that year, the Saskatoon Contacts would have went to that tournament with, get these names, Kalen Lind, Nashville Predators draft pick, Braden Yeager, captain of Team Canada, Riley Height, Minnesota Wild, Caden Price, one of the best defensemen for Canada so far at the World Juniors, a young Berkeley Catton, Chicago Blackhawks defenseman Kevin Korchinski, Toronto Maple Leaf prospect Noah Chadwick, and their goaltenders, WHL star last year Max Hildebrand, Ethan Chadwick, and like there's names on there too that aren't drafted that are playing college hockey. Like that Contacts team was robbed, Harry.
Yeah, just one of the casualties of that whole pandemic.
What's your take on the World Juniors so far, Eric? Be honest.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I rarely am on this program. No, I'm not the biggest World Junior fan. I know I'm the only guy in Canada who says that, but like it doesn't overtake my life like it does for a lot of families. And I think it's great. Don't get me wrong. Like it's something that a lot of families literally look forward to, watching it together. And then you always hear the stories that, the kids go and say, yeah, I grew up watching this every Christmas with my family and now I'm playing in it. Like it's a phenomenal tournament. I just find at Christmas time, I'm usually at this tournament at the Circle K watching this with my son out of the country, just having a holiday, and I don't watch hockey at all. So I've watched a couple games. The one game, I watched their first game, and then I watched the loss against Latvia. Like, I mean, again, knowing how much people put into this tournament, I'm surprised they didn't, demand that the Prime Minister come back from his holiday to kind of address this awful situation where Canada lost. There's going to be a summit for sure. It's one of those tournaments like all of them. The round robin doesn't mean a whole lot. I know that it can hurt you in terms of your positioning, but the goal, as everyone always says, is build as you go along. I'm not sure we've seen that though, because I haven't watched enough, but it doesn't sound like the result yesterday where they barely squeaked by and won 2-0. So anyway, I'm not going to give you a real educated kind of opinion on it other than to say I'll start digging in and watching a little more now. But, it looks on paper like a hell of a team, but the way they've been playing is not what anyone's expected so far.
I think it's just come such a far way. We've come such a far way. Hockey has, to like where Harry and I were talking about, where Canada would play Norway And like Norway would show up with different gear and their goalie, like there's better street hockey equipment out there, and they would get beat by 10 goals.
Yeah.
No, like, it was true. And then, and to be, it was never the big thing for me in my life. As a kid, it was. And then I was just like, why are we pounding our chests and jumping into the glass when we're demolishing these kids from Poland or Kazakhstan or wherever? Just, it didn't excite me. But now I love the fact that you don't show up, you can lose.
Yeah, it is great, and obviously the goal is to hopefully have the women's game get to that point at some point. And they've made some strides, but it's still a two-team tournament. This is, it's still not anybody's game, nor should an international tournament be anybody's game. There are still 3 or 4 countries that are still just fill-ins, but every year, like what you tell me, 6 teams could win the gold in this tournament. That's pretty awesome. 6, 7 teams. I don't know how you guys would break it down, but the talent level is incredible. And I'm always blown away every year by Sweden. Like, what's their record over the last dozen years? I think they've lost 1 round robin game, and only have I think 1 World Junior gold to show for it. So it's fascinating the way this tournament always shakes out.
Have you you wait till you watch the highlights of the Kazakhstan-Slovakia game when you get home. You got to watch how that one finished, because it was actually, just as a hockey fan, it was pretty crazy and exciting. Quickly, I don't know, Harry, what you want to touch on here. The one NHL thing, I was watching the Flames and Senators, or no, Flames and Sens the other night, whatever. No, sorry, Flames and Sharks. Dustin Wolf I had no idea. He's from the Bay Area. And he grew up idolizing Evgeny Nabokov.
Yeah. Yeah, he grew up in the garlic capital of the world, Gilroy, California, also home of Jeff Garcia. And I remember when Wolf made his debut last year, or was it the year before, I got Jeff Garcia to do a video that we ran on our TV broadcast, just kind of saying, from one Gilroy native to another. They didn't know each other, but they're 2 big names in this city of Calgary, both from this small town of Gilroy. They have this garlic festival every year. That's a big deal. And yeah, it's about 40 minutes outside of San Jose. He grew up going to Sharks games. And as the story goes, when his mom was pregnant, she would go to Sharks games and he would kick like crazy during the game. At least that's her story anyway. Like the stimulus of the arena, the noise, whatever, he would go wild. Maybe he was kick saving a beauty in his mom's womb. I don't know what the story is, but it makes the story good. Because also, if people forget, like Dustin Wolf, everyone questioned his size for years. That's not even an issue anymore. Like, that's an old story. He's clearly an NHLer, but the Flames drafted him. I think it was the second last draft pick of the entire draft. So him and his mom were in the crowd, and they thought it wasn't going to happen, and they were on the verge of just being devastated because he was, he went to the draft and everything, and then they called him, took a flyer on him, second last pick.
Jeez.
And the emotion of that moment, the mom, the son, everyone absolutely bawling, made the general manager of the Flames cry. Everybody was crying, just kind of comprehending this realization of a very unlikely dream for a guy who's only 5'11", still only about 155 pounds. So it's an amazing story, and people are really cheering for him. I'm glad that he's doing so well. So when he got that win the other day, in San Jose, you could see they showed him after the game. He had his arms outstretched. It's not the first time he's won there. It's the second time, but it still means the world to him because all his friends and families were there at Christmas watching him play.
As a good Ukrainian boy, I want to go to Gilroy now. If it's the garlic capital of, I might have to check this place out. Okay, hey, it's not often you should go in there and interview young Maddox Schultz, or go shake his hand, meet his dad. They're unbelievable. He just scored that overtime winner. Pat Canadians come back and beat Pittsburgh. And it's not that I want to cut you off early, Eric, but you guess who we're talking to next after the break? One of the greatest coaches in Canadian hockey history internationally. Dave King.
Dave King. course.
Yeah.
I should have known that when you introduced him that way.
I know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Say hi to Dave for me. Yeah, he's a good man.
Okay, right on. Go back in there.
And by the way,
What's up?
I have a question for you before I get back in there.
Uh-huh.
You referred earlier to the garlic region, the garlic band, the garlic area in Saskatchewan.
Garlic belt.
What were you? What the hell's that? I don't know.
That Yorkton, Kenora area, it's the garlic belt. There's lots of good Ukrainian people. Ituna, Saskatchewan. You just need to come here one day, man. You take that jacket off.
We're doing a road trip.
Yeah, you got it. You got to have clothes that you can put in a bag and tighten up, and then it's good stuff, man. You haven't had pierogies unless you've had pierogies around that area. So we'll.
Oh my God. Okay.
We'll get you out. Bring your skates too. We'll
You
have
should
a
be
twirl.
in charge of tourism.
Yeah.
You're the tourism minister.
Garlic belt tourism.
Garlic belt. I love it.
Exactly. Let's go. Shot of vodka for everybody. Daj Božja. Okay. See you later, Eric.
See you, boys. Cheers.
That was our NHL. Yeah, Happy New Year. NHL insider Eric Francis. It's brought to you by Southie Mainline Chrysler. They still have the holding the payments for 90 days up until tomorrow, and $13,000 off select 2024 Ram 1500s and 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokees. The all-new King of Trucks, Southie Mainline Chrysler in Southie, Saskatchewan, worth the drive every time. Time for a quick break. When we come back, we are going to be chatting with the man himself, Mr. Dave King. It's the all-new SportsCage, streaming at sportscage.com. It is for Kellen Solar on this Monday. We're back. It's Barney Shynkaruk and Chris Harris here. Update, Germany 2-1 on top of Latvia. 18 minutes left in the third period of play. And then if you're just joining us, Regina Pat Canadians come back, 7-6 win in overtime. First playoff game against Pittsburgh. Bantam age player Maddox Schultz scores with 0.5 seconds left and then scores the overtime winner, ends the game with 4 goals and 2 assists. Like Harry.
That's a day.
Coming out party for young Maddox Schultz at the Max tournament. Or the Circle. Okay, let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Don't want to keep this guy waiting. Perfect night for Western Pizza. Call and see what the specials are around your area. It is Dave King. Dave, are you in Phoenix, Arizona?
Yes, I just got back last night from Saskatchewan. I spent Christmas in a couple of days in Saskatoon and a couple of days in Calgary with my grandkids.
Nice. You got some good weather while you're here, at least.
Absolutely, yeah. In Saskatoon, actually, we were there for 3.5 days. We played hockey twice a day outdoors, and so it was phenomenal. Really good.
Where did you go? What was it? The pond or the rink?
It's an outdoor rink. It's out in an area. I forget what it's called. It's a beautiful area. They're all acreages. And it's a beautiful outdoor rink out there amongst these acreages. And the ice was terrific, and we had some really good games. I slowed down a little bit, but things are good.
I think we went to the Sid Buchwald rink a few times over the holidays up there, my kids and I. So it was good times. I gotta tell you, and I don't know, you're probably watching international hockey and Spangler finishes today. Canada doesn't win. But that Latvia-Canada game, as a guy that's been around the international games so much, you've coached Canada at the World Juniors, you've seen this tournament evolve. What goes through your mind when you see a country like Latvia pulling that off?
Well, I mean, it's great for Latvia. Certainly it's great news back there. But I really thought Team Canada played pretty well. I mean, we got 56 or 57 shots on goal. I think they blocked probably 25 or 30 shots. So we did generate a lot to their net, and their goalkeeper was very good. And you got to give them credit. Their ability to block shots and clear rebounds at critical moments was really good. But, I thought Canada played a pretty good game. I mean, they didn't give up very much, and their young goalkeeper was terrific in the shootout, which I was really impressed with. But, I think it's really good sometimes in tournament play, and I've been involved in a lot of international tournaments. It's good sometimes to get some adversity early, because all of a sudden the room for error is gone. And so everybody starts to really, really buy in to what they have to do. Everybody's prepared for every game, every shift, and suddenly it kind of galvanizes your team sometimes. So I think it's good for Canada. Disappointing for us, but nice for Latvia.
Dave, we've talked about it a few times so far on the show today. Just the fact that the gap has closed so much between these countries, the Latvias and the Germanys, over the years. There's gone are the 15-1 blowouts and the 16-0 shutouts. What do you attribute the fact that the rest of the world or these countries have caught up to the level of the powerhouse countries in this tournament?
I think there's a lot of reasons. Obviously, their developmental programs within their countries must be improving, and I think that's a real strong thing. I think their coaching's really, really improved. To me, when I watch the Latvians play, I mean, system-wise, they play very much like a lot of North American teams do. Kind of a 1-1-3-4 check, and they do the same thing in the D zones in terms of their coverage. So, they've gone to school, and these coaches are well prepared. Their teams, I think, at one time just kind of played the way they play in their own countries, and sometimes you have to adapt a little bit when you get against the USA, Russia, kind of teams like that, and Canada that are really good teams. You got to adapt and adjust a little bit, and the coaches now, I think, do a better job. And I think that it's good for the tournament because we don't want 10, 11, 12 goals being scored in a blowout. This year really indicates that the playing field's getting a little bit more level, and that's not a bad thing.
Is it also, too, what I feel, and Chris and I were talking about this earlier, is I remember the days where Canada's coming down and shooting on goalies that are wearing worse than street hockey equipment that we would find in Canada. Like you talked about the coaching, but the goaltending position has come so far in a lot of these countries from over in Europe as well.
Yeah, and that's a very good position, too, to talk about because there's lots of Latvian goalies that have been outstanding in the NHL, and they've got a lot of Latvian goalies now playing major junior hockey across Canada. And one thing I probably should have added to my answer for Chris there was the idea that, there's a lot of players from the German league, from the young German team, the Kazakhstan team, and also from Latvia that are playing major junior hockey. They're good enough now to come over and play major junior. So that indicates that their programs are going somewhere.
For a tournament like this being in Canada, and we had Pete Anholt on last week and chatted with Pete, and I said, and Les Lazaruk and I were joking. I said, there's got to be pressure after what happened last year. Pete says it's not really pressure. Like, we do what we can. We put the best team together, and then it's a matter of see, basically throw it in the oven and see if it bakes. This is the best data we have now, and all that. Like, where the game has come, Dave, from where 1982, when you're standing there, and I think it was it Rochester or wherever that was, and they're playing the anthem that they didn't have. Like, now, putting this team together with the data and the scouting, a guy like Al Murray, there's just so much involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there really is. It's it's complicated. There's a lot of players that want to play. There's a lot of coaches that would like to coach it. The fans really love it. And I think one of the biggest things that the management team and the coaches face is in a tournament like this is managing expectations. That's the hardest part. Your guys know how to play. They're all enthusiastic and they all want to be there. It's the coaches and the management's ability to manage the expectations in the room and with the media. And that's a real big challenge for everybody. And it's not easy. And, I think the Team Canada's got a good staff there. Pete Anholt is a good general manager. Their coaching staff, very experienced. So I think they're going to be fine. It's just a matter of them now getting their A game together every game. And I think they have no room for error. So we'll see that.
As much as we talk about how the tournament has grown kind of in parity and how the teams have progressed, is there anything, if you had a magic wand, if you could change something about the tournament or somewhere where it maybe needs to improve a little bit more or go in a different direction, is there anything that you could see that if you had that crystal ball to do?
Well, in my era, I coached 2 World Junior Championships back in the 80s, and there was 8 teams. Okay, you played 7 games. There was no playoffs. The team with the best record won. And so every game was so critical. The format now is forgiving. I mean, you have to make the playoffs, which pretty much, even at the World Senior Championships, it's very hard not to make the playoffs, to be honest with you. It's pretty easy. So a lot of these games, almost in the minds of players, I think, become preliminary. It's kind of getting warmed up for the medal round. We're going to get there, but just we'll just take our time and build a little bit. So, I think the format is probably a little generous at the senior level as well. We have too many teams for sure that can't compete. This year, it's really pleasing to see Latvia compete. And that really helps in terms of really making it a better tournament. But I think that's one of the things that I wish that they would do, would maybe be reduce the number of teams a little bit, so you're really, really guaranteed good competition. Every game counts, but everything's made for TV, and we know that, and everything's made to generate income. And I understand that that's a big part of sport at every level now, is how much money can you make.
Is that why they got away from that format?
I think that's probably, I think that's probably what happened. All of a sudden, it became back in '82, as Barney mentioned, it was hosted by Canada and it was hosted by really the U.S. We had 3 games in Winnipeg. We played the Russians, the Swedes, the Finns. And it was interesting because the stadium sold out for all 3 games in Winnipeg. And the reason is that's where Canada's national team under Father Bauer was housed for years. And so they had a real, they really enjoyed international hockey, the city of Winnipeg. So we sold out those games and they were terrific. But I think the format got pretty good. All of a sudden, the World Junior Championships became a really interesting television event. And so automatically they look to expand it. And the other thing you got to look at is we get 1 vote. The U.S. gets 1 vote. When you go to those meetings with the IIHF, you don't have a lot of people telling you want to stay at 8 teams. They're all saying they want to get in it too. They want it to generate a lot of interest in their countries. And that's what's happened to hockey overall, guys. I would say, now that you can go to Russia, you can watch an NHL game in Russia every night. I can watch KHL games here on my computer. So, the globalization of the game has caused, if you really look at it carefully, everybody now's pretty competitive in the marketplace because everybody can do their homework. And hockey is a copycat game. Everybody plays the same. If you watch an NHL game, you could switch sweaters, and the power play is a 1-3-1. The PK, it's a push down. Everything's the same, and that's okay. That's the way the league is. But internationally too, it's a copycat game. So it's become competitive, and hockey's growing in some of those countries because of the exposure they're getting in the international game.
Now, Dave, I know that you have a book out that was released in early 2021, but it was more of a coaching guide. Why no Dave King story? Because I would read tomorrow your biography, even if it was just your time in Russia. I did write it. I did write any plans to do a book?
Well, I did write a book called The King of Russia that talks about my first year in Russia when I coached in Magnitogorsk. I had Evgeny Malkin, Nikolai Kulemin, guys like that playing for me that went on to play in the NHL. So I wrote a book about that experience that year, which was a fantastic year for me. The other book I wrote is Loose Pucks and Ice Bags, and that is really a coach's book or an avid parent. And there's a lot of avid parents out there, that want to, they want the kids to play the game more than the kids want to play the game. So but it's interesting. I really enjoy, I have lots of good stories. People have asked me that, and I've got so many good stories from my international time and with the NHL teams too. Sometime I may, but I've got 2 books out there. It's a lot of work to write a book, though. It's not easy.
We had him on the Monday nooner, and I think it was an hour that we did the podcast, Dave, and it felt like we could have went for 2. I know Linda was in the background probably saying, "Okay, we got to get going here, Dave." But hey, the one thing I was telling Harry is it's on my bucket list, and I think Harry's as well, is to go to the Spengler. And when you and I talked last year, what was the restaurant that you got to take like a sleigh to or something? Yeah,
there's a restaurant about 8 or 10 kilometers outside of Davos, and the way you get there is by horse-drawn sleigh, and the sky is so clear that you almost think you can reach up and touch the stars, because as the horses are taking you along this little path, and you go to this beautiful all wooden building, and it's fondue, and it's famous, and you have to book ahead. And Team Canada always takes the team out there for a night on one of our off nights for a nice meal, and it's a wonderful tournament. It's a hockey festival. I can tell you, the Spengler Cup is the most fun event you can attend, and it's amazing how many tourists actually go to the Spengler Cup. They're not big hockey fans. They enjoy the game, and they don't have a team to cheer for, but they go there because it's a great place, great skiing, and the festival just takes over that whole area. And it's every game is sold out. The fans are wonderful. They cheer for every team. It's really, really something.
I was watching that game this morning, and I've always been fascinated with the big ice. And as a guy that's coached so much on that big ice, Dave, and hey, I just, like I said, I love watching. I took my kid. We went to Finland and Sweden last year. He played on normal ice except for one game. Yeah. And I was just like, where are the quiet spots? When you're helping a coach on that big ice, where are the spots that you wouldn't really think about attacking or sitting in that's on a regular sheet of ice?
Well, there's definitely more space below the goal line. So the game behind the net, you've got more room to work your game low and be effective there. The corners are very, very deep in Europe too. Not only is the rink bigger, but the configuration of the corners is deep. So there's a huge amount of space in the corners. And then the other part of the game, if you stretch skate, you've got an extra few feet. The blue line to blue line, it's a lot of room. And so you can build a lot of speed. And that the big ice is kind of exciting. The small ice gets the game to the net, which I think is really good. On the big ice, sometimes, if you watch KHL games, very often the shot totals are 21, 22, 23 shots per team. So in an NHL game, it's probably closer to 35 or 36 shots. So the game doesn't get to the net as much, but it really allows skilled players to have more space. And boy, when they have more time and space, they're really good players.
The one thing that our guide in Finland said was, and we're talking about the game, and I've always just been fascinated. And he said, over here, they teach, even at a young age, that puck is power. You want to hang on to that puck. And that's something over there, Dave. Like, why isn't that translated maybe as much here, or the old dump it in thing that we do? And the other thing that I noticed there too, which I thought was fantastic, was here at a young age, it is to the kids to get out of the zone, up the boards, up the boards, up the boards. Yeah. There's a creativity. And if it's not there, they bring it back, right? Like, how do you explain all that, Dave?
Well, it's on a big ice. If you start trying to chase the puck, you get tired really quickly. It's a big ice surface. So, and really, when you're defending, you burn more calories than you do attacking. And so keeping the puck, turning back, holding it, building up the play a little bit is really part of the European game. And they still do it now. They play more like we do now. I mean, our games have come together. It's really a hybrid game. It's been cross-pollinated from both groups. We play a bit more European, especially our specialty game, power play PK, and they play 5-on-5 a little bit more like we do. But you were talking about space. Can you imagine? Do you know how big the slot is in a defensive zone in Europe? To cover that area, it's really, really hard. So it's very interesting that their game is different. I hope our games never get too close in terms of how they're played, because I like the difference. I think it's good for the game. They do some things differently, and that's how we've changed our game. We've picked up some of their game and brought it to the NHL game. But there's no question that the NHL game, it's back pressure. Everybody defends now. Like when I first started in the NHL, guys, your scorers didn't check. They scored. That was their job. Now every forward's expected to block shots. It's part of the game. and you're expected to back pressure. It's part of the game. If you watch our top players now, our top players not only score well, they're amazingly good defensively. It's because the game has changed. The expectation is you play both sides of the puck, and the game is so much pressure, so much speed, you have to do it to be able to win.
Yeah, if you can put up 80, 90 points and be nominated for the Selke, you're doing something right.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very good point. You're right on. And I think if you look at the Selke winners, a lot of these guys are amazing offensive players, and so, you watch some of the, real, you go back, watch Mario Lemieux, and I had a chance to coach him once. And he didn't do a lot of checking in his era. Mr. Gretzky didn't do a lot of checking in his era.
Yeah.
They were attackers. They were expected to score, and they did. They did their job. But boy, now your offensive players, your top scorers, they're amazing hockey players. They're so complete that it's really impressive.
Well, like it was last year, Braden Point, who's not the biggest, so skilled.
Yeah.
He's blocking shots. And I said to my son, I'm like, that would have never happened back in the day. Like, you had the guys that were crazy, that were there to block shots. Like you said, it was just nothing. And now everybody does it. It is such a skill to block a shot.
You know where I first saw the tip of the iceberg with the skilled players doing that? Remember once I think I was coaching in Columbus, and we were playing the Red Wings, and Steve Yzerman was playing for the Wings, as you know. He was their captain. And I was doing a pre-scout, and Yzerman went down on a PK, and he 3 times blocked a shot. And I thought, God, this is one of the most skilled players in the league, blocking shots. He's going to get hurt. I mean, the coach has got to tell him, don't do that. You're going to get hurt. I need you in the lineup. But he was one of the guys that started this, this idea. And he wanted to win the cup. He hadn't won the cup. And so Stevie started to do this, and all of a sudden, it started to grow. And it's interesting, too. The teams that win the Stanley Cup, the Colorado Avalanche, the year they won the Stanley Cup, they blocked the most shots in the NHL. And that's a team stat.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. Okay, last quick one before we let you go. If you watch international hockey, you see everything. Skoda. From all your time over there, did you ever own or lease a Skoda with Linda?
No, I never did. I always got those beautiful BMWs and Mercedes and that kind of stuff. But no, they're a heck of a car. Got to give those Czechs a lot of credit. They're building a pretty darn good vehicle. It's all right.
Dave, you know how much I appreciate a chance to talk to you all the time. We could go on here forever. 22 degrees, it says in Phoenix right now. So, I hope you're having a great time. Thanks so much for doing this again.
Anytime, Barney. I really enjoyed it, and it was great to be on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Sir.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. We'll see you in Waskesiu.
Thank you. All righty.
Yeah, there is legendary Canadian hockey coach Dave King. Harry's just sitting there shaking his head.
We just do the 3 hours with him.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable.
Do all 3 hours with him.
Let's take a quick break. It's the all-new SportsCage streaming at sportscage.com. We will unwrap Dave King a little bit more in hour 3 because I know that look on your face. I've known you long enough that he's an amazing guy. If you're just joining us, the Regina Pat Canadians, massive overtime win at the Max, 7-6 over Pittsburgh. Maddox Schultz scores in overtime, scores with 0.5 seconds left, 4 goals, 2 assists. Unfortunately, Moose Jaw, they lose 6-3 to Airdrie. So their hopes of the championship is over. We'll get more going. Don't forget Melville Yorkton tonight in the SJHL. Anything in the WHL, the closest games up in Paradise. The Blades are in town to take on the Raiders. Brandon is in Swift, actually, as well. 2 points separate those two teams in the standings. I'm just texting with the coaches from the Pat Canadians. We might get one of them on, too, in the next hour. Probably an emotional time. Pretty excited. Darian Durant coming up after news. We'll talk about the Jake Maier trade and get his take on the NFL. It is the all-new Sports Cage. We are streaming at sportscage.com. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube, please do that. Curtis still needs to get his bonus, which Colson is in charge today, so Colson will get his bonus. And as always, we are on the home of the Rider, 620 CKRM. Craziness going on at the World Juniors again, Harry. Latvia scored an empty netter because Germany pulled their goalie. They were tied. So it's because I think Germany needed to win. Pulled their goalie.
Oh, yeah.
Latvia scores an empty netter, come back 3-2 lead with how much time left? About 2:40 left.
250.
Jeez. Get me a Latvia
Crazy.
jersey. I'm loving what they're doing. Big fan. Latvia. And then another hockey fans out there. Regina Pat Canadians, 7-6 over Pittsburgh. First playoff game at the Max tournament or the Circle K Classic. So they are advancing. We are going to hopefully be joined by head coach Ryan Hodgins in the next 30 minutes from Calgary to unwrap that game. And phenom Maddox Schultz, 4 goals, 2 assists for the Pat Canadians. Unreal.
Germany just scored.
Germany did just
3-3
score.
now.
3-3. Jeez. This stuff's crazy. It's like a wild college football game, is what it is. Speaking of college football, let's go out Western Pizza guest hotline. Get yourself a Western Pizza wheel tonight. Just sit back and watch all the excitement on TV and tomorrow as well. Darian Durant joining us. Darian, post-holiday, still in holiday mode. What's going on around the Durant household?
Yeah, still in holiday mode because New Year's is coming up, right? So it's not completely over, but it's been good, man. Just seeing the look on the kids' faces when they get new toys and to be able to enjoy, unboxing them with them and just the excitement you see is just priceless, man. You have to have kids to understand, and all the parents out there know exactly what I'm talking about. Just the joy they feel. It's amazing.
You know it. What were your initial thoughts when you heard that the Riders traded for Mayer?
You know what? I was shocked at first, but then as it settled in on me and I started to think about it, I look at it like this, and I'm not sure that don't take me to the bank with this scenario, but maybe Jeremy sees Trevor maybe only having a year or so left, and you want a guy when Trevor's done. You want to have a guy with some type of experience, a guy that has won some games that he's proven. And, you don't want to go into an uncertain situation, even though we all think that Shea Patterson can and has the potential to be the guy. You just don't know. And you want to have as many good quarterbacks in-house as possible. So I think that bringing Jake over, maybe having him learn from a veteran like Trevor, he's learned from Bo a little bit, but having him sit behind a high-efficiency guy like Trevor to learn the system. And, it gives him a shot for a starting job, in case Trevor leaves after a year.
What would be going on right now in this whole kind of negotiation, spot where, nothing in I guess for a month from now is when free agency opens, but they have a chance to kind of negotiate with them and get, ink on paper eventually. What would be going on behind the scenes right now from both sides, Darian?
I think for Jake, you're looking for the situation where you can play as fast as possible. I mean, look, he's a 2-year starter. I'm sure he doesn't want to go into a situation where he has to sit for long. No competitor does. And, I'm sure Jeremy's just explaining to him what they see as far as the future of Trevor is concerned. If Jake has an opportunity to step in and compete for the starting job after a year. And also Jake wants to know what are their plans with Shea Patterson. I mean, here's a guy that, became a lovable guy from the fan standpoint while he was starting. He won some games and he has the opportunity to potentially be the guy. So Jake wants to know, what are your plans for him? Is he going to get a favorable hand because he's been here? Am I coming to a situation that's worth it for me to sit or re-sign? And, it's a lot of things going on right now in negotiations. And, it's crazy that this early period that they have where they can talk to guys from other teams and tamper, so to speak, is interesting. But I'm sure it's a situation that, both sides want to be clear about what to look for going forward.
Darian, I'm going to give you a scenario. So you obviously have spent 99% of your career as the guy, as the starter. Are you better served having a guy behind you that is serviceable should God forbid anything happened to you and it can still help the team? Or are you served better by a guy who could, should you struggle a little bit, possibly push you out of your spot as the number one guy?
It depends on where you are in your career, right? If a ring is important to you, and it doesn't matter at this point if you're the guy and you want to make sure you go off and experience the feeling of being a champion, then you want to have a guy that can come in and win games and, could possibly be the guy. But if you're young and, you see yourself being a starter for the next 5 to 7 years, there's no way you want the threat of a potential starter behind you. You want a raw rookie or a guy who doesn't have a lot of snaps under his belt and that you don't feel or look at as such a threat. So it just depends on where you are in your career. And when I look at Trevor, I look at a guy that seemingly, just wants to win. Even though he wants to be the guy, I think winning and having a ring of his own is important. But in order for that to happen, you kind of have to have the best of both worlds. You need a guy because it's hard to play every game. So you need a guy with some experience, and, you also need a guy that can come in and win. So you kind of want a mixture of the two.
As a quarterback at the professional level in the CFL, for Jake Maier, as well, knowing Mark Mueller, and then vice versa, Mark Mueller knowing Jake Maier, I don't want to say how important is that, because it's obviously important, but then it almost seems like a no-brainer that this is going to get done.
For sure. I think so. I mean, when you're a quarterback, you have to look at the type of system of the potential team you're signing with and who their coaches are. And, everyone thinks it's easy for a quarterback to just go in and learn a system, but it's one of the hardest things to do, especially if you're looking for some early success. You want to go into a situation you're familiar with. And so with Coach Mueller being there and Jake having that experience with him, he knows the system. It's the very first system he learned when he came into the CFL. So it's going to be the most familiar with Jake Maier. And it just seems like the perfect opportunity for him to go in a situation and, have a heads up because he knows the system.
If Jeremy has said to him, you know what, Jake, we see a future with you. Trevor's got a year, maybe 2 left. Come in, do your thing, pay your dues, learn a bit, grow. How patient is a young guy going to be with that kind of philosophy? Or is he just going to be, I want to get in there. I don't want to wait. I want to go.
I mean, I really think it depends on the situations around the league, right? I mean, there's no need for him to be frustrated in a situation where he has to wait if all the other teams are solidified. I mean, if all the other teams have their guy in place, their guys playing solid football, there's no threat of, him losing his job. I'm speaking on the quarterbacks of other teams, then it's best you sit in a situation where you can be the next man up. That's your best opportunity to play. So that's the situation you want to be in. So for Jake, I mean, when you're behind a guy like Trevor, who is in his late 30s, who, may be on his way out of the league, I think this will be the best situation, because if you look around the league, most teams seem to be going a little bit younger, besides Hamilton, but they're going a little bit younger. And, they're looking for young guys who are established. So for Jake being 27, you sit a year or two, you'll be 28, 29. You're still young in quarterback years, and you have an opportunity to lead a franchise for the next 5 to 7 years.
Let's shift before we go to NFL. I got to pick your brain on the college football fiasco that's going on.
Yeah.
This is wild stuff.
Yeah.
What's the most intriguing matchup for you going into the next slate here?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at the rematch between Ohio State and Oregon. I think that'll be the game of the week. 2 powerhouse programs, and a rematch from earlier in the season that I'm sure Ohio State is looking at the chomps to get back, another opportunity to play those guys. And of course, I mean, you look at Georgia, Notre Dame. That's going to be a good one as well. I mean, you look across the board. I think they're all going to be good games. But what I don't like is that the teams that get the bye, they don't get a home game. I mean, make it make sense. You play all year. to get a bye and to be in the best situation, only to be in a neutral site game where half of the fans are from the other team. And then, the teams who barely got, I don't want to say barely got in, but the teams who got the home first round game, that's an advantage. And you saw that with Penn State and Texas and, these crowds, Notre Dame as well. I don't like how that's set up, because if you're going to get a bye and you put yourself in position to be the top 4 teams, you should get a home game.
Is there any possibility or planet or world that we hear the college football national champion Boise State or Arizona State? It just doesn't sound right.
No, that's not going to happen, man. I mean, you look at Georgia, you look at Ohio State. I mean, I look at these 2 teams specifically. I mean, just watching them play, they're just loaded with pro players, man. They have look up front, their secondaries, their receivers. I mean, Boise State just doesn't have the firepower to compete with these teams, let alone, the guys in the trenches to move some weight. So, they've had a great year, and in the past, they've been a great Cinderella story. But I just don't see that happening, because there are too many good teams. If it was just a one and done and they just had one shot, anything can happen. But, to go from, playing a Georgia or a Texas to Ohio State or Oregon, I just think it'll be too much to overcome for Boise State and Arizona State.
Yeah, I heard, I don't know if it was on ESPN or somewhere last week or the week before, and they broke down the difference in weight of the offensive, defensive lines from Boise State and Arizona to Texas and Ohio State. And then actually all the SEC schools. And it was just things are built a little bit different. What are you watching going into the last week of the NFL season?
Well, I want to see what happens in the NFC North for sure. I mean, Detroit and Minnesota. I've been speaking on Minnesota all year, and the way Sam Darnold has been playing, I really felt like they were going to be a threat. And, as you can see, they're just poised to be the number 1 overall seed. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, when you look at what the Chiefs have done, when everybody thinks that their roster is getting worse, they just keep plugging away and keep winning. And so I love to see that. So, I think the playoffs are pretty much set, the picture. And now it's just all about, let's get to the playoffs and see if the Chiefs can do it again.
Oh man, I don't.
I know a lot of people hate to hear that, but
I don't want it, and I don't see it.
Okay, we'll see. I mean, we're in the era of, once Tom Brady retired, I think we're just in an era where quarterbacks are going to win 4, 5, and 6 championships. I just think that's how football is now shifting, because, once you get your guy, teams are locking these guys in. And if you get you a good one and you build around them, you're going to win multiple championships.
Should Minnesota sign Darnold?
Man, that's so tough, because you know what? He would take up so much of the salary cap. Yeah. And I just don't know how much better he is than J.J. McCarthy. I know he's good and he's seasoned and he's been in some bad situations. But I think when it comes to the salary cap, you have J.J. for the next 3 to 5 years on a very minimum team-friendly deal. You can build around him. And I think if you sign Sam Darnold to $150, $200 million, you'll just hurt yourself when it comes to guys around him.
Part of me thinks that Sam Darnold seems, because he's really not that old still, he seems smart enough and he's been around enough dumpster fires in his short NFL career that he sees maybe taking a little bit of a haircut to stay around. The coaching is unbelievable. What he's done the last few years with Minnesota. And then all those weapons, he might go, hey, like you said, if it's about winning, right, Darian?
That's a great point. I mean, you're right. He's an older guy. He's been in numerous organizations. He's seen the good and the bad, and he's seen the worst. I mean, when you look at the Jets and the Panthers. So, I mean, he knows, I'm sure he values situations. And the situation he's in now with Justin Jefferson and Addison and, running back and great coaching, I think it's a great situation. But you always have to remember that whenever you have a first-round guy behind you, you just have so much, you have to be perfect, because as soon as you start making mistakes, you can look at Kirk Cousins, and I mean, we could all see it coming, but as soon as you struggle or the team is out of contention, you lose your job because it's a first-round guy. First-round guys aren't expected to sit. So, I would think about that if I'm Sam Darnold. You have a guy behind you that they drafted to play. So, I mean, your leash may not be as long. Even though you have a huge contract, so does Kirk Cousins, you're still not going to have, as long of a leash because it's a first-rounder behind you.
Right on. Well, let's see how it goes. I'm curious on how things finish in the NFC, and just wow.
Yeah.
I didn't have that on the bingo card when we started everything this year, but
I know. It's been good.
Talk to Arash Madani tomorrow. He could be head to toe purple when we talk to him. All the best. Have a good New Year's Eve and New Year, and then we'll chat next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Right on. There's the rider legend, Darian Durant, joining us here on the Sports Cage. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, like we said, first off, in overtime, just happened, Latvia wins over Germany. And just love the Latvia. Let's all jump on the Latvian wagon here. After Canada, of course, wherever you're from. But yeah, no, this is exciting what those kids are doing. Speaking of amazing things that the kids are doing, it was the Regina Pat Canadians in a crazy, I want to get the unwrapped version from the head coach. We're hopefully going to be joined by the head coach of the Regina Pat Canadians when we come back. It is the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com and as always on 620 CKR. We're watching the Latvian flag being raised again as they dump Germany, and they're playing the Latvian national anthem at the World Juniors. I bet you when this started, whoever's in charge of music at the World Juniors was like, I don't know, I'll just pay it by song. I'll just pay the $1.29 per song. We're not going to need it. It's twice already. Love it. Look at these kids. They are so excited. Congrats to Latvia.
The over-under was probably 0.5 for the Latvian anthem being played.
Yeah.
Should have hammered that.
Twice in this tournament. Unbelievable. Epic stuff going on. Epic stuff went down in Calgary about an hour ago. Regina Pat Canadians 7-6 overtime win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline, probably needs a good Western Pizza and a pint right now after a game like that. Head coach of the Pat C's, Ryan Hodgie. Hodgie, how do you put into words for people that are listening on the radio and on the stream how crazy of a game this was?
Oh man, it was wild. It was something else. That's for sure.
7-6 in overtime. Did you guys trail pretty much the whole game?
Yeah, well, at one time, yeah, we were early, and then we tied it up, and then they kind of went ahead. But I think it was the last I kind of remember was 6-3 with about 8 minutes left in the third. We were down 6-3 with 8 minutes left.
How did things change there when you're down 3 goals in one of the world-class tournaments against a world-class opponent? Man, we've been around a lot of hockey. That's not easy to do.
No, and then things had to align right, and they did. I mean, we're fortunate enough to get on the power play. And we capitalized and we scored early in the power play, so we stayed on the power play. So, I mean, like I said, things aligned right, and things worked out, and then the 3-on-3, man, it was exciting. It went a long time. So
what?
Sorry, go ahead.
How much time was left when you guys tied up the game?
I believe it was 0.3 or 0.5 seconds. It was insane. So the boys battled.
Harry's with us here, and he's never seen him play, but he said this has to be a coming out party for young Maddox Schultz for people that didn't know who he was there?
Well, I think most people there know who he is. I mean, he's talked about for a reason, and he's a special player, as we know. And he was on his game today.
Anybody else that stood out for you that we can single out here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few guys, and there's different situations too. I mean, the power play for overall, they were sharp today, and they moved pucks and they executed, and the special teams in our penalty kill was good. But during the 3-on-3, there's some role players that did a great job. Cash Lanigan, Reed Bishar, just a couple of guys winning faceoffs in our own end, 3-on-3. Just good team play by a lot of guys that pitched in, and again, our depth is our strength. We say a lot, and guys played hard.
As a coach, and again, a guy that's been around a lot of hockey, how does this, not only for this tournament, but just kind of galvanize this team for the rest of the year as well, too?
Well, we talk about that as identity and a team identity, and you can't start the year and just say this is our identity. You got to create your identity as the year goes on, and little things and things that happen, wins, losses, ups and downs, and that creates that identity. And this is for sure one that with a team and you're behind and you battle back and things work out, and yeah, absolutely, it's big for our team to come together with a win today. So
do you know who you got? It was between NAX and Edmonton Oilers Blues for who you play. Do you know who you play tomorrow?
Yeah, we're just actually, the coaches are sticking around here. We're just watching the game right now. They're 0-0 after one, and it's a pretty close game. So yeah, we play the winner of that tomorrow morning. Right on. Well, I'm sure you coaches deserve a cold one tonight as you get ready for the big one tomorrow, Hodgie. Congratulations. Super exciting. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Right on. Head coach of the Regina Pat Canadians, Ryan Hodgins. Huge win. Maddox Schultz. 4 goals to us. Hold on here for a sec. I'm just going to go get 4 and 2. I don't even know where I should look up where he sits in stats for the tournament. But he said the depth players too. Obviously, it doesn't happen with one guy at that level. And then NAX and so it's Northern Alberta Extreme, and then Edmonton Oilers Blues. Oh, Colson, stats guy, you got something?
Yeah. He's tied for first now. So he has 12 points. He is second with goals. Jonah
Sievertson, yeah.
Yeah. Has 7 goals, 4 assists for 11 points. And then Alex Donovan of Darian, Connecticut, I think that is, has 5 goals, 7 assists in 3 games.
Awesome stuff. Oof. Over there. Boys are getting it done. And then there's no more World Junior games today. That was it. World Junior's not going up against Monday Night Football. We got Detroit and San Francisco. I'm just looking if the line, I'm going to cool bet here. San Francisco +4 at home. Somebody talk me through this
schedule makers probably thought it was going to have a little bit more
cachet
when they, a little more cachet. It's got cachet, baby. It's got cachet up the yin yang. When they made that matchup than what it's turned out to be.
Over under 50. What's the forecast like though in the Bay Area? That's always can be a factor on things.
Chilly.
Yeah.
Chilly-ish.
Detroit's so banged up, but their offense is still really good.
They are.
And then San Fran last week, which everyone kind of had them for dead, then they looked not bad last week. It's like, who the heck are you really, San Fran? Are you guys done?
I don't know if they know.
Is this operation done, or are you guys still battling? But I'm definitely going to I'm gonna sprinkle on it, and I'm telling you, boys, I'm hitting the touchdown scorers. My tight ends, they've been coming through. I always play the tight end, to get a little
Sammy
TD.
Laporta.
Sammy Laporta. Maybe a little use check for San Fran. Little 5-cent comment out of the backfield on a swing pass as well. So yeah, Monday nighter, and then Canada US tomorrow. World Juniors is the game that a lot of people are going to be talking. We clutch performer for next service in Emerald Park. Your local Massey Ferguson, Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fent dealer. Call 781-1077. We saved it because is there a better clutch performer now than Maddox Schultz? Anybody in the building?
Yeah.
Whoever won it for Latvia, maybe?
Find that guy's name. He had an eye patch on. He got stuck in the eye as well.
Mateo or Mateo. He was good against Canada too.
Yeah. That didn't look very good. He's out there in an eye patch. So yeah, we can give it to him. But I think if we stay on the local front, we give it to Maddox Schultz from the Regina Pat Canadians with, again, 4 goals and 2 assists in the 7-6 overtime win. Oh, Alan.
Well, I was going to
speak into that bad boy.
I was going to say the guy from the Czech. What's the blue country?
Slovakia?
No,
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan that scored
the guy who scored the 2 goals. But,
the 2 shorties.
I was going to say that guy, but
that was a good one. I forget his name. But yeah, he scored 2 shorthanded goals late to tie it up on a 5-minute penalty kill. And then Slovakia, unfortunately, did end up spoiling the party and winning in overtime.
Honorary mention, Saquon Barkley, 2,000 yards. Not every day you get the honorary mention with that.
Maddox Schultz trumps in on Saquon Barkley. So what? He's got one more game?
Yep. They're up against New York, his revenge game.
But does it mean anything for them?
I don't think so.
No.
You would be crazy to play him.
He's 99 yards away from the record. So.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one.
No. I'd be no. Sorry, Saquon. It's a no from us. You're sitting.
Saquon, he's going to say it's the record. I need 99 yards. Can you just pay off the Giants? It doesn't mean anything to them. Hey, boys, let me run a couple big ones here. You guys will have a nice little envelope in your lockers at the end of this game.
It means more than wins. It means pride because they traded him or let him walk, whatever it was.
No, I understand that. I get all that. But is it Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles? He might not let him get out of the hotel on the bus.
No. Big picture, fellas. Big picture.
Oh, the record, though. I know the odds of winning the Super Bowl would be, we could probably figure that out with the odds of them winning the Super Bowl. But to have your name immortalized, because who is it, Dickerson? That thing's lasted a long time.
Yes.
It's been a lot of good running backs that have come
early
by.
80s.
Who's been close recently?
Derrick Henry and Adrian Peterson did it.
Peterson, that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah. Derrick Henry too, Baltimore, I don't know. And now that Kansas City has home field, barf. I don't know. Both Buffalo and Baltimore can beat them. They're probably going to end up playing each other, beating the snot out of each other, and then possibly be all banged up. Because I don't know if anyone else, Pittsburgh did kind of not scare me, but I thought, hey, Pittsburgh's got a chance of beating them. And then now they just look like an old washed up catcher's mitt, crinkly and craggly. So
this clock has struck midnight in the city.
And then Houston was the other one that for a while there I was like, hey, don't sleep on Houston. And then it's like, no, you can sleep on Houston.
Yeah, they got embarrassed.
San Diego's weird. And they got a weird head coach. But everything revolves around, what's his name? Their rookie receiver. Los Angeles Chargers.
McConkey?
Yes. Everything revolves around him. Like when he was out, they were talking like they might as well not even play. It's like your team is based around, I know he played, what did he play in Georgia? He's good. But yeah, like without him, Chargers are different. I don't know. There's a lot going on. And I still got my guy I'm in the Survivor with, because we partnered up now. We still have 2 left in like a 200-person Survivor. And it's down to like 20 some people. And we got 2 left. Let's take a break. I'm going to let you know I'm going to need your help. I'm going to let you know who I have left and see if you guys can help me. Plus, we'll relive some more World Junior from days gone by. It's the all new Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. If you're looking for a place to host your team fundraiser, it should be at the Canadian Brew House. Chance to win $2,500 cash. Tons of options to choose from. The Canadian Brew House can help you raise funds for your crew. Find all the details online at thecanadianbrewhouse.com. Okay, back to my predicament with my Survivor going into the final week of the season, and then it'll continue into the playoffs. I've kind of taken all the dogs, as they say. Who do we got?
That's when it bites you.
No, and I know I tried to play. I tried to play it smart at the beginning, because I'm looking, and you can buy back in after the first 4 weeks. So my first pick was I was going to buy back in. It was New England. Then somehow they beat Cincinnati. Then the New York Giants got that hunk of junk out of the way. Then Denver, Bo Nix is for real.
Yep.
It could be my favorite young quarterback in the NFL. Then I took Jacksonville. And then it was for real, Derek style. You had to run the table, and I've used Chicago, Houston, Cincy, Green Bay, Philly, Chargers, Miami, KC, Detroit, Tampa Bay, Baltimore, Buffalo, Rams. So I got like the Las Vegas Raiders. I got Miami. I do have Miami. But is Tua going to be back? What's wrong with him? He was in sweatpants and a hoodie yesterday. He's out. Who are the other favorites this week that I could possibly use? Really nobody. Tennessee, not a chance. They're never a favorite. It's scary. I'm going to have to go through this a little bit more.
We need to get to that goal song.
Oh, yes, we do.
We got to touch on the goal song.
So the way I understand it is they picked a few of them for the World Juniors, and then they let the players vote on those selected songs. Is that what? Do you know any more about this?
I don't know who's picking them. I thought the players picked them, and I thought it was strictly up to the players. Looking at the list, since they started this tradition back in 2017, every song is brutal. So I don't know.
Give it to me. Throw them out there.
I don't know who these kids. I don't know who these. In 2017, We Dem Boys, Wiz Khalifa. 2018, and then they went back to the well in 2022 again. Hey Baby by DJ Otzi.
I hate that song so much.
Then 2019, Don't Stop the Party, Pitbull. 2021, Loud by Tim Hicks. 2022, Can't Stop, Red Hot Chili Peppers. 2023, which everybody seems to love because it was in the Maritimes, was Heave Away by the Fables. And then last year, no wonder they lost in the quarterfinals, is they picked Ordinary Day by Great Big Sea. Horrible. These are horrible song selections for a goal song. And then this year, they go way off the charts and pick a 1980s song that none of these kids have. Like, how do these kids even know what this song is?
They don't, and it's an Austrian band. What's the name of the band again? Opus. I was going to say Flocko. Or no, what's that?
Fox Seagulls?
No.
Rammstein?
What's the song I'm thinking of? Isn't there Faco? Oh, I'll look it up.
Rock Me
Falco.
Amadeus.
You're right. Yes. Yeah. Rock Me Amadeus. Probably better actually.
I don't understand. I just don't understand why you picked those songs. And yeah, I don't buy the argument that it should be Canadian. That's irrelevant.
I do and I don't.
I don't know.
I went down to the I went down the Canadian thing, saying that, especially that it's in Canada, just for options. Like there are 50 Tragically Hip songs you could use.
Absolutely. There's so many songs, and the Americans aren't any better. Freebird? Are you kidding me?
That one's weird too.
It's guitar. It doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. It's bad. It's not a great choice.
You know what? There's a couple of things that bother me, and not to get be bother guy and rant guy here, because I know people like the program that I'm not that.
That's my job.
So I hate when NFL or football players in general, that happens in the CFL, where they copy another person's celebration, like the Feed Me thing, which was Ezekiel Elliott. Was not he the first guy to do it? And now when people do it, it's like, dummy, look, that's just not your thing. That was his thing. Kind of the Ray Lewis did his dance. So there's that. And then when teams copy other teams' goal songs or win songs, like how many times I've heard Gloria ever since the St. Louis Blues made it big in different levels of hockey as be original. There's so many good songs out. Do you want an anthem song? Message us. We'll find you one. How Do You Do by Roxette. There you go.
Right.
Put that on the top of your list.
The thing that people either don't care or don't get is that Gloria had significance for the Blues.
Yes.
For your Bantam team, it has no significance other than the fact that an NHL team uses it. So you need to find something, if you're going to go that route, that has some sort of significance to you, for you. Or just pick a good banger that is going to get people going.
Live is Life. Is that the name of the song?
Life is life.
Life is life?
Life is life.
It's a toe tapper, and then someone sent me the Maradona warming up on the field and the soccer match, and I'm like, okay, well, at least he's in the correct hemisphere as an Austrian band. And I'm like, there are so give me a list of ones that you would pick. You guys can chime in too.
Oh.
I know.
I mean, even the songs they're playing in between whistles last night when I was watching the game, I was thinking, well, that would have been a better. That would have been a better goal song. Even something, I'm surprised. I just don't understand how, if the kids are picking it, how it's not something that's a little more contemporary.
I think they gave them, the way I understand it, is they gave them 5 options and they all voted. So it was kind of still arbitrary. Somebody or a group, they said, okay, let these 18 and 19-year-olds, I would have liked to know the other ones that were on there, and I think we can find out. I think it's out there as well. It could have been Falco.
Yeah, what was on the cutting room floor?
Yes. You know what would be a good one? And again, not because it's Canadian, but they, like you said, they played it last night at a stoppage of play, and it is so good. Might as well go for soda, Kim Mitchell.
Right. Sure.
You don't like that one, Colson?
I don't know it.
Come on.
If you
Broom Bowl makes me thirsty for love. Listen to it on your way home.
Even if you wanted to be cliche, you could use Big League.
Tom Cochran and Red Ryder.
Right? My boy's going to play in the Big League. It's the World Junior Tournament.
Damn, Life is a Highway is better than Life is Life.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the song. I just don't like the song as a goal song.
Well, now I actually despise the song now.
Right.
And then the USA one. Here,
Freebird. Freebird, because then they say, oh, well, the first 5 minutes of it are slow, and then there's an awesome guitar solo about 5:20 in, which they play. That's the part they play, but it's just a guitar solo. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I know that they have a bit of a story behind theirs because it was a couple other guys' teammates' song that they enjoyed. I read the story behind it, but Canada's just doesn't make any sense.
No, what would be a good? I'm going through the list here. We can't, now that we're on YouTube, we can't play any music or we'll get punished. A good hip one.
I'm trying to think of what a good one would be. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's
Courage. Courage would be good.
I mean, you could do like 50 Mission Cap or
Three Pistols.
Blow It High Dough. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, looking at the list, they perennially pick bad songs like Ordinary Day, Great Big Sea. Not a lot of people.
Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah, and it's not a good song.
That might have been the only year that they actually let the players start from ground zero.
Right. Yeah.
And say, all right,
that's the one that makes sense.
What do you guys want? There is nothing. Oh, by the way, I know we did our clutch performer for Nick Service in Emerald Park already. Good job to all the kids that were participating at the teams or Sask First U15 tournament in Regina this weekend. Great job. Lots of hockey. Parents loved it. They do a great job at the Cooperator Center. The Hockey Sask guys work around the clock. Tons of volunteers. Clutch performers are those volunteers that make that thing tick. Some really good hockey as they go to the next round.
According to Name on YouTube, Name Cardinal.
Namer.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
The Czechs have a ridiculous goal song. I can't pronounce it, but he says it's really good.
They've been using it for almost a decade.
Oh, wow.
And he says when he hears Freebird, I think of that scene with Jenny and Forrest Gump.
Yeah, that conjures up some real World Junior. I'm looking at my gym playlist on my phone. I can come up with a dozen better songs that I would be like, well, that'd be a good. And I would never pick Opus.
No. Like, joking aside, but so many.
Yeah.
I take Snowbird from Anne Murray.
And and I think the fact that they make such a big deal out of it now makes the fact that it needs to be something good.
Yes.
More important. Because it's always like, as soon as they score, it's the first goal of the tournament. They're always like, oh, the mystery's revealed. We know the story. We know the goal song. So if you're hanging your hat on it and you're paying attention to it, make it something good.
As a Saskatoon person, and you guys are both too young, as a Saskatoon person, what is the greatest goal song of all time?
Oh, Cool in the Gang Celebration.
Yes. Saskatoon
For sure. With the
Blades.
headbutt, the group, boom, headbutts.
WHL in Prince Albert, Blades are in town. And then in Swift Current, Brandon Wheat Kings and the Broncos, 2 points separate. Harry, the one thing we never did mention, we have you back, 38 years since the Swift Current Broncos tragic bus crash claimed the lives of Trent Cressy, Brent Ruff, Chris Mantica, and Scott Kruger. Again, 9 years old. I remember that. I remember when that happened.
Ditto. I do as well.
Like, it was shocking. And then after I lived in Swift, did the radio thing there for a couple years, great community. Started to find out more about, how it happened, very curious where it happened, how it, and then what the aftermath. And there are some people like first responders, and this is back in 86. Like you look at even the footage of the police, police cruisers that showed up, and then the ambulance. Like it looks like you're watching an old movie, for sure. And there were some people that were very instrumental in getting things in order there. And then I've always said it is probably would be an unbelievable made, like a TV movie on a sports team. You know, like We Are Marshall was amazing on that franchise. You read a lot of books.
They have sold years ago, they did sell the rights, or somebody bought the rights to kind of like that story.
Oh.
But I don't think a movie was ever actually made, or a documentary or anything like that. But I know there was talk about that this is years and years ago, but it never came to fruition.
Because it was 2 years later that they win the Memorial Cup. Like, it was just baffling. And then you got like Tim Tisdale scores the winner, and he was on that bus. We talked to him in the Monday Nooner when we interviewed him. Like, he goes back. Sheldon Kennedy, Kennedy, Lambert, Sakic, not Kennedy, Sakic, was on the bus. Like, it was hard to fathom, really. 30.
It definitely is. It seems like, I mean, that's a long time. Like 50 years is just around the corner. That's half a century. It is a long time ago, but definitely still entrenched in that community. And just before we went on, there was an article by the same guy who wrote that World Junior book, Gare Joyce. The 20th anniversary, he just went, and he was kind of, the focus of the article is just kind of how he was surprised at how nobody really wanted to talk about it, which I get. Obviously, you don't want to, but he's like, it's just that reserve, that resolve that people in Saskatchewan just kind of carry themselves with. It's just like, just deal with it, and you push through, and you carry on, and you find a way. An expression I've heard recently is, you find a way to find a way, right? And that's kind of typifies people in Saskatchewan, I think, in general.
Very true. All right, buddy. This has been fun. 3 hours just like that. Let's do it again, as they say. And get ready for some Opus tomorrow. Canada, USA, New Year's Eve. Thanks,
versus
bud.
Freebird.
For Chris, Colson, Alan, good job. I'm back tomorrow. It's the all new Sports Cage, 3 to 6 on 620 CKRM and streaming at sportscage.com.